97.9 The Box. It's the Madd Hatta Morning Show, and wow. J-Mac mentioned his name a couple of weeks ago, and then he magically appears. Toe Down had a huge rap song. Man, what year was that? 99, 2000?
99, 2000.
Country rap tune. Had a Big Hawk, R.I.P. on it. Somebody else was on
Big
it.
Pokey.
Big Pokey. How can I
Come on, man.
Sorry, Polio. But it was a huge song. Gave you the opportunity to get you a deal with Elektra.
That's right.
And then you were always doing your thing because you have recording studios and all kinds of other stuff. Because I actually been at your house and done some stuff over there. Not in the recording studio. I think Black Cat had we did the posters and all. You had a lot of stuff going on.
We had the whole team.
Then I saw you on the news, Toe Down.
Boy, that was fast. I like the way you did
no
that.
Transition right into it. Music to marijuana. We don't play.
Then I saw you on the news in this multi-million-dollar house, and I saw the feds and the police and it wasn't HPD. I wasn't sure. Anyway, the police was out there.
Them boys.
Yeah, the boys was out there, and you were and then they showed a scene of you very reluctant to talk to the reporters.
Well, I just hit him with that tagline. I'm just gonna let my attorney figure this out.
That pretty much sums it up right there. So,
shout out Ken Schaefer.
So here it is. Big time rap star goes to jail for a couple of years for dope, for drugs.
Right.
That's the story. How much of that can you talk about?
I can talk about it all.
All right,
I've done my time.
Okay, so was all of this true, or was it? Well, you did some jail time, so I have to assume that it was true.
Well, I did prison time.
Okay.
Jail is where you try to recover from a hangover. Prison's where you change your address. So it's a little bit different. So I just took the terms from Young Jeezy. Don't stop thugging till the feds come get you.
Right.
But what it worked out was everybody knows around 2007, 2008, the music industry kind of fell out because we were getting paid like $7, $8 a record wholesale.
Yeah.
And then we went from making $7 a song.
Mm-hmm.
So it ain't easy living this glamour life.
Right.
So in order to maintain this facade, I started pumping up my energy into other aspects of my career. I was like, let's see, all these boys coming through the studio. Let me not only get studio time money, but let me get some side money. So it started out with one little grow house, and then a couple years later, it turned into.
Was business that good? That's what I want to know. I saw you in I saw $1 million house.
Let me tell you, there was so much cash at one particular point. I remember cutting down some stuff, and it was about 50 pounds, right? So
he just casually talking about this.
He did his time.
Yeah. Okay.
So I told my brother, I was like, "Hey, Bernard, listen, I'm gonna go take a shower. I'll clean up. I'm gonna meet you at the studio, and we can handle some business. I got some clients I need to take care of." Like, cool. So by the time I shower and get back to the studio, my brother says, "Hey man, I got some bad news. All of it's gone." I'm like, "What do you mean all of it's gone?" He was like, "Well, I sold it, and there was $200,000 in cash in there." So I was like, "I'm gonna fix you." So I grabbed as much money as I possibly could, stuffed it in my pockets, called my boys up and say, "Hey, we're not coming home until all this money's gone." And woke up the next day, still had a ton of money in my pockets. So money does grow on trees. It all depends what tree you're growing,
Okay. All right. So you was truly living the baller lifestyle.
Listen, you couldn't spend it fast enough. Somebody would call me on a Friday asking for 10 bows, and then that next Friday they'd ask for 10 more. But people don't understand it takes 99 days to get that 10 bows.
What is 10 bows?
Okay, bows are pounds, LBS. Them big boy things.
Okay.
We're not.
Now, were you getting yours from somewhere?
No, I was growing it all. So
wait a minute.
It's a
this is
backstory, man.
All this stuff is homegrown that you're selling.
Well, I like to call it exotic or something else. Homegrown makes it sound like I'm in my kitchen with it. You know what I'm saying? But when you're producing 3 pounds of light, you're on another level. Most good growers can produce a pound of light or maybe 2 pounds of light if they're lucky.
You don't sound apologetic about any of this.
Listen, marijuana is what I did. It's not who I am. But it was because of marijuana that put me in places where I needed to be sometimes. It was a great business card.
In prison?
Well, no. Well, let me tell you. When you're on that type of level, you're going to have to end up doing some time. Because it just doesn't stop.
Right.
Because now all your boys are tied up and they're dependent on you because they have family support. I mean, my average bills, just the bills, were $30,000 a month. Because you have a team you're supporting. So you're supporting them and their family. And I mean, when you're rolling, people depend on you.
Right.
You are their stabilization in their life. That is, hey man, I have a kid. I'm not doing too well. I need some help. And I'm one of those guys where I'm gonna help you out if I can.
So, Down, you never thought at any point in time that all this could come crumbling down?
When I got busted the first time, I was at the MTV Video Music Awards out in LA. I get a phone call from my brother, and he says, hey, your house has been raided. He was like, hey, don't worry about it. Kent Schaefer's on it. You'll probably be arrested at the airport. I come back, and crickets at the airport, nothing.
Okay.
So I sit at my house for about 3 months waiting for these popos to come get me. Finally, they come get me. I go talk to Ken. Ken's like, hey, listen, don't worry about it. Do what you do. So I knew at some point it would eventually catch up. But when you're rolling that hard and that thick in the game, it's like, okay, risk versus reward. You know? Yeah, it's marijuana. Yeah, I'm going to end up doing some time. But if I told you, Madd Hatta, hey, you're going to make $1 million a year for 10 years straight, and you might have to do 5 years prison time, 99% of the people where I come from are like, sign me up today. You know?
Wow.
And that's what it is.
That's what
you know?
that's where
So
that's
it's
where
risk,
you at.
it's risk versus reward. And then, you know, you take a knock because the game isn't always up. You know, you take, you know, bad burns, people run off with your stuff,
Right.
you know, stuff like that happens.
But
So
what about the music business? Was it doing that bad for you? Because you had just signed a deal with Elektra, which
It
I
wasn't-
thought was pretty lucrative deal.
It was, but that was in 2000, right?
Okay, you
and
still
my
got to live.
And my brother had negotiated that every 9 months we had to receive an advance plus 20%. So Elektra knew by the time we got finished shooting the country rap tune video, it had already been 9 months. They needed to ante up another 1.2.
Okay.
So they were like, get this white boy out of here. We need to keep some of our money.
Right.
So we opened up the studio. The studio started doing really well.
Right.
And
Because
things-
everybody was always recording it, so
and-
I'm confused about
and
your
things
need to sell dope in the first place.
and things were on the right track.
You
but in
wanted more.
But in 2008, the
the
industry
ministry changed up. You're right.
That's right.
Southwest
So,
Wholesale changed up.
so now, you know, you go from living this lifestyle to like, well, what am I going to do now?
So you felt forced.
Well, it wasn't necessarily forced, but it was a product
You-
of my environment and my
The way you was
condition.
living.
Because, you know, music and marijuana are synonymous. Those things go hand in hand, you know.
Okay.
Everybody comes to the studio and they elevate their mind. You know, all my clients were my friends. All my friends were rappers in the game. So, I mean, when somebody calls you up, and I'm not going to mention certain names out here, but
Right.
99% of the people that you've heard come out of Houston that visited my studio,
They saw you.
they saw me, they knew me. Famous people would come to town who had cash money, and they would call me
We
up and
got-
they'd be
we
like,
feel you,
hey,
see?
hey, we need to hook up with you. So not only was I an ambassador for the Houston rap scene, but I was also an ambassador for that scene. So the two things you want to know instantly when you get to town is, hey, where's the white boy with the weed? And where's the recording studio? And I had both of
Both
those
of them.
things. So it wasn't that the studio wasn't paying well, but you gotta understand, man, I was riding around in the 600 Benz. You know, I got an Escalade. I take trips to LA. I drop 20 grand on. You know, just to be in the mix like that. You know.
Nobody at no point never told you to slow down. Your brother B over there.
Let me tell you.
Nobody never came to you and
My
said, hey,
brother,
bring it back a little.
my brother Bernard was counting so much money, he didn't have time to tell me that. And when I got arrested the first time, God rest my dad's soul, my mom was, you know, going, you know, kind of hysterical. Hey, what are y'all gonna do? And he was like, listen, Bertha, they're gonna do what they've always done. They're gonna go get them another house and they're gonna crank it back up. So everybody knew what it was.
So
you
was
know?
it a family affair?
It wasn't a family affair in the sense, but
Some of the family understood why the
they
others-
understood, you
why
know,
you did what you
when your mom is the 8th of 10 children and she lives in a 2-bedroom house and she grows up poor,
Yeah.
and you grow up on food stamps and you grow up getting free lunch from school, you know, the reason I got into the music business was for money and women and everything else that's
That comes-
excess in
right,
life.
right,
You know, and those are some choices that I made early on. So to obtain money, there was hey, I'll risk whatever it takes to get there. You know, when I started rapping, you know, there wasn't a white rapper in the game besides Vanilla Ice 10 years before me. So they're like, oh, you can't do this, you know? And I was able to do that. And then when I started growing weed, people were like, oh, you can't do this. So just, you know, it's one of those things that, oh, you're not going to be able to do this. You can't compete with, you know, the commercial market. And I'm not saying I was the best weed grower in Texas, but I'm going to say top 5.
But you know what? Because I have talked to him before. Your story is interesting to me to me, especially how you got started in the weed and how you came up with your own.
Yeah, how'd you come up
Because I
with
didn't know
So
you
how'd
had-
you even know how to do all that stuff? Somebody
Well,
has to teach you those things.
Let me just back
to
up
make
a little
your
bit.
own, to grow your own weed.
To get started in the weed game, it kind of happened like this. The first time I was probably like 18 years old, and I brought home this sack of weed. And my brother, he was like, "Hey, what is that?" And I'm like, "It's weed." And he was like, "Man, flush that crap down the toilet. You don't need that." And I was like, "Well, listen, I'm not smoking it. I'm selling it." And I was like, whoa, you're selling it? And I was like, yeah, off this one little bag, I can make about $400. He says, well, where's some more at? You know? So it was always kind of hand in hand with the rap game thing for a while. You know, when I wanted to meet somebody and get them on a feature, it was more like a sack for a track, you know? It was just one of those things that you did, you know? Marijuana was...
You are very proud of this.
Well, you know what? Marijuana has opened up so many doors for me.
You don't feel...
To deny my history would be wrong.
Do you feel bad for anything that you've done at all?
I do feel
And are
bad.
you still a huge supporter of weed? Because, a lot of people want to get it legalized anyway.
I support medical marijuana. I support marijuana in general. But the thing is that, hey, life is about lessons that you learn in the journey you travel down. And although marijuana is something that I did, it's not who I am. You know, when I go speak to these high schools now with my brother, we go out there and we tell kids about the consequences in their actions, you know? Life is about, hey, this is the consequence of this action. I'm not telling you not to smoke weed. I'm just saying have a broader vision of what could happen if you do smoke weed.
And if you sell the weed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Look from my example, you know? I think I'm a fairly intelligent guy. I think I can, swerve the laws for some period of time, and I did a great job doing it. But the problem is I was too busy living the glamour life, sitting courtside at the Rockets, balling in my Benz, throwing money like I growed on trees, which I did, but I was all wrapped up and engulfed in that. So when my brother and I go talk to these high schools and we talk to these kids, we let them know that, hey, this is our story. This is what happened from our consequences. You don't have to make these same choices in
Now,
life.
let me ask you this, Toe Down, because now, were you the brains of the outfit?
Oh,
Because you were always, to me, you always...
Hell no.
Your brother B always came across like he was
step up
major.
in here.
And I know
I'll hold it,
because your brother also, to my understanding, might have did a slight bit of time as well. But he always came across as the person that probably had the plan all together.
Listen,
but I don't know that, so I'm just
my mom
asking.
said, I always knew you were going to prison. Did you have to take your brother with you?
And I always knew he was going to prison too.
You just didn't know you'd be going with him.
Well, I didn't know it was going to be a family affair, but the family that goes to prison together stays together. I think that's kind of how the thing goes. But one of the things is that what we try and do now is, hey, listen, we had a chance to reflect.
Right.
When you have 5 years, you go and exercise, you work out, you put a plan together. It's like, hey, what do I want to do when I get out? So for us, it's like, hey, listen, you can do these things, but there's reactions to those things. So when you write a check, you have to figure out what it is that you're going to get. So play the tape forward and see what it looks like when you do those things, whether it's drinking, smoking, growing pot. The thing is, we can talk about marijuana. And marijuana, we can debate whether it should be legal if it's God's plant and this and that. Because when I first got locked up, I was like, we have a co-conspirator. I planted the seed, my brother watered it, but God made it grow. Y'all need to go arrest God.
Oh, wow.
And they're like, you're going to prison, sir.
Let me tell you, my brother's
Being too smart.
My brother's so intelligent, he decides to write the judge, right? And
Oh,
show how
gosh.
intelligent he is. But people kind of told him, hey, don't talk to the judge, don't write the judge. So the judge kind of knew early on that my brother was really the brains behind
outfit.
and I was just more like the puppet. But what really is the truth is that he's been the greatest babysitter ever. You know, my mom early on told him to watch after his little brother, and that's what he did to his best abilities. I can't help it that I was just out there thugging, trying to be like Tupac, so he was always the one to be like, hey, you need to slow down, toe down. Hey, maybe you shouldn't be driving and smoking and, hanging out with all
Well, you
these
were the more
boppers.
flashy brother. I never saw Bernard flashy.
Nah,
If you would have saw him, you would have never. To this
My-
day,
my
right
brother-
now, it's still the same.
my
You're the
brother
flashy one,
never
and
had-
nobody would have known Bernard if I didn't know you two. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
He never had a budget, but he could always exceed it. That's how people, it's always like having a skiing and trying to control a boat.
Well, let me
you're
stop
holding on, and you can give suggestions on which way to go, but you can't always force someone which way to go.
What did they finally get you guys for? The final, you were what's the word?
Well, hold on. I'll tell you what it is right
You
now.
were arrested for what?
I was arrested for manufacturing marijuana.
Okay.
Manufacturing marijuana.
Okay.
But what happened was during the sentencing process, due to my brother's intelligence level, our sentence only carried 36 months. But the judge knew he was so intelligent, so he awarded him the grand prize of 4 points for leader organizer and 2 points for maintaining.
Which is more time. So
Yeah,
I got the bonus point.
You got bonus.
I got
the
bonus point.
same charge Pablo Escobar is getting and all these other big time drug leaders are getting, my brother and I are getting. And for a long time, they always
But
said...
weren't y'all a cartel in some
Well, see-
respects? You made your own. I'm being honest. You
100% right.
You created your own
network distribution.
You did. You had
And-
your own team.
And
Listen, they called it.
That is a cartel.
They called it the Terrio Drug Trafficking Organization. When I first read it, I was like, who are these people? Like, that's you, stupid.
So
I'm
you
like,
guys y'all didn't see yourselves in that? I mean,
We're a bunch of local guys growing pot. Selling pot.
Did we have a team? Yes, we had a team.
you had a team.
Did we have distribution? Yes, we had a
You had
distribution.
distribution,
Did we have the work? Yeah, we were the suppliers. So
and you created the supply, and you put it all together.
that's right.
That sounds like a cartel to me, man.
Ontario drug trafficking organization
Listen,
as a feds.
It sounds like that to
When
me
they,
too.
when they first came, they said, we got you for conspiracy. And I was like, well, listen, I don't know nothing about JFK. I was too young.
Wow.
I didn't even know.
There
I
you
didn't,
go.
So there's a state time and fed time. The state time,
Y'all got fed time.
we got fed time. Well, if you're going to do it, go all the way. There's no use being half pregnant. You go all the way. There's no little bit of drunk. Go all the way.
Okay, y'all still don't sound very remorseful about what you did. Now, let me ask you this, because B, I know you have kids. I don't know if Toe Down does. So, how do you explain all this to your kid?
Well, listen, when
Come close to the mic.
I first got locked
Yeah,
up,
his son is actually here.
when I first got locked up, he asked me what happened, and I said it was a disagreement about some farming equipment, which is partly true.
Right.